Welcome to the HEARTS Entwined podcast. In this podcast, we'll be having discussions around the secrets which attract lasting, healthy, fulfilling relationships, creating a healthy mindset, and what women should know and understand about men. Introducing your host, Lyn Smith, the Queen of Hearts, relationship expert, trainer, speaker, and best-selling author of the Cupid's Bow technique. Lyn's mission is to have a positive impact in reducing divorce, domestic violence, and suicide.
Welcome to the HEARTS Entwined podcast. This is your host, Lyn Smith, the Queen of Hearts. And today, listeners, we're going to be talking about communication, trust, and intimacy in our relationships. So important to understand how communication, how trust, and how intimacy is impacted in our relationships if we're not operating at our highest selves. So in this particular episode, I've got a new guest. We're going to welcome Gemma Nice. She's a sex and relationship coach. So welcome, Gemma.
Thank you. Thank you so much I'm really excited to be on the show. So thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. So before we get stuck into the subject of communication, trust, and intimacy, which we know that I should think the vast majority of listeners will have had issues around any one of those three, if not all, in terms of how that might be something that's impacted their relationships. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, Gemma, and how you got involved in this particular area of expertise?
Yeah, so for 19 years, I was a veterinary nurse, and now I am a yoga coach and relationship coach. And back in, 2006, I was a head veterinary nurse of a branch practice, and I was heading up 8 to 10 people. And there was one day where we'd had an argument, my husband and I had had an argument on that day, and a dog nearly died because of me, because I think it was just like a general routine anesthetic, and I was part of the anesthetic. I was doing it and I wasn't concentrating. I was thinking about this scratch on my car, I think the argument was about, and then I just was like, oh my God, this dog nearly died. So I came home and I said to Darren, my husband, right, we need to go on a long holiday. We need to get away from here, because we were like working different shifts all the time. I was really stressed out with my job. He was stressed with his job, and we just weren't seeing each other. And then we went backpacking around the world. It was something that I always wanted to do, but I was like, right, we need to do something drastic here. Now, I'm not saying go around the world backpacking to help yourselves, but that, we started off in South Africa, and even like just the first couple of days were just amazing, that we found that connection again, which we'd lost. And it just felt so much better. Like both of us felt better, the connection felt better, everything just felt so much better, that we had actually come back to ourselves and found ourselves again. And then when we got to Thailand, so we stayed in each country for around about 6 weeks, and when we got to Thailand, we were just hanging on this beach, and I just saw 5 Thai people doing like really weird things in the sand, and I thought, that's weird, I want to do that. And it was yoga. So I came back, when we got to Malaysia, I bought a book, An Idiot's Guide to Yoga, which then I was just doing lots of yoga, different yoga poses everywhere. Got to New Zealand and bought a mat, which actually I still have. I think it's under the bed, but I still do have it. And then I fell in love with yoga, and yoga helped me repair my relationship, and also like the relationship we've had with each other. But then in 2012, I suffered a miscarriage, and then kind of breathwork and yoga helped me through that, and helped Darren through that as well. And then I kind of pivoted with like relationship stuff, and I then went on to have 2 children, 2 healthy children, 2 healthy pregnancies. Everything was fine after that. But trying to get through that miscarriage as well, there was lots of just, I don't know, resistances that we'd had, and yoga and breathwork really, really helped me. So then I took on a business coach in 2019, and she was like, well, everyone's a yoga teacher, which they mainly are. And she's like, well, you need something else. Like, you've got a 20-odd year relationship, which now is 23-year relationship. So you know about relationships. So do that and use your well-being, all of your knowledge for that. And that is exactly what I do now. I left I got furloughed in 2020, as did everybody. And then they wanted me to go back to the vet, but actually it didn't work in the end. And I was like, right, I'm just going to go now and just go off on my own, do relationship coaching, do yoga coaching. And yeah, it's been so nice. And then actually this year I've kind of pivoted again to more sex stuff, because I really love talking about sex. It doesn't bother me what in the slightest. And like being British, and I know you're in Spain, but being British, everybody doesn't really want to talk about it. And I'm like, well, I don't mind. So yeah, quite a few people, my clients will come to me and say, it's amazing that you can just talk about this. You're open, you're honest. It's needed out there, and I'm happy to do it. So yeah, that's kind of my story, really.
Excellent. It's quite refreshing. So like you say, especially I think sometimes your niche finds you, and if you are that person that's speaking authentically and feels comfortable about talking about sex, and it is a quite obviously again another important area of intimate relationships, then I think you naturally attract your own tribe, and sometimes, as I say, the niche finds you.
Yeah, it certainly does.
Getting back to the topic of communication, trust, and intimacy, then what do you think is the main, I suppose, issues that either yourself or your prospective clients or current clients have had in terms of those sorts of issues that you can give us examples of?
Yeah, so with us, it was always, which I see with a lot of my clients as well. I can certainly see myself in them years ago. And it's just that you just push everything under the carpet. You just think, oh, I'm not going to talk about that right now because I can't find the confidence, or I can't find the right words to say. And then when you do, it then all blows up into argument because you're both really like, really het up. And you just can't find the courage to even say anything. And I think I did one of my daily reminders yesterday, actually. It was all about how, which is so true, it's like little things always build up to like a big snowball effect. And when you've got this little tiny cherry on the top of a big ice cream, or like an iceberg, you've got the tiny tip at the top and then a massive thing underneath. The massive bit underneath is all of these little niggles that have just built and built and built over the past few months, or maybe even a couple of years, where you haven't been able to be yourself, and you haven't been able to really just allow the conversation to come out because you're fearful of what your partner might do. You're fearful of, oh no, they won't think good of me because I'm going to say this, or it's just the way that you say it. So when you can kind of come back to yourself and breathe, like do so many different tools and techniques that you can do. And with my clients, I do breath work because that really helped Darren and I to connect back up to each other again. It really does allow you to find the courage to actually say, well, no, I don't want to do that, or no, that's not right, we're not going to do it this way. Or even just listening, like communication, talking and listening can come out both together. But also communication, it doesn't really mean that it has to be a talking communication. It can be like a touch or a physical touch. It can be writing down, like write a letter to your partner, especially if you're trying to figure out the words and you can't really figure out where you're wanting to come from because you've got it all up in your head and you really struggle to actually say it. Whereas if you write it down in just like gobbledygook, it doesn't have to make any sense, but it's coming out of your head and onto paper. And then you can read it back to yourself, and then you can kind of get more of a better understanding of where you need to be. But if you're on different paths, and I've got a client at the moment that's on a different path to her partner, they are so different. Like they won't talk to each other. They'll always end up in arguments all the time. And it's trying to navigate how to communicate with each other. Now one's a talker, the other one doesn't really like talking, so it's then trying to find, okay, well, let's go for a walk and we can maybe just sit and listen to each other, or just sit and just be quiet, and then you can then start to talk. It might be you need a hug one day, and that's like your touch communication. It might be intimacy. It might be just something else that you just really struggle with, and you just can't say it. You can't seem to get it out. But when you do say it, everything changes for the better.
Yeah, I like the idea of you saying sometimes, if you can't verbalize it, try writing it down. And then even if you need to sort of reframe that when you're actually communicating that, you can just say that you know, I found it difficult to talk about this with you, but I've wrote it down, you know, because it makes it easier for me to say it, then, you know, I think that's a great tip, because sometimes we don't want to say something because we're fearful, like you say, of causing conflict or hurting somebody's feelings, or we're wondering how they might receive it, and they might receive it badly and, you know, take it as criticism, when that's not the intention. The intention is to, you know, address it, release it, and make the relationship better, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. And also I find with like my talk therapy clients is that they can't really say something. They can't find the courage to say something to each other to their faces, because you're fearful of what their face or what their facial expressions will be like, their body language. What is it like? So another massive top tip, I'm giving all my tips away, is to, and I get my clients to do this, and it really works, it's amazing, is to sit back to back. So you're not actually looking at each other, but you're touching each other and taking in 3 big deep breaths, because you're actually feeling each other on your back, and you're feeling their breath coming in, and then you start to then regulate your breath together. And then one of you talks, because you're not actually looking at each other. One of you talks, the other one listens, but doesn't interrupt, and really takes in on board what that person's saying. And then the person talking then says, okay, I finished now, your turn. And then that other person that's just stopped talking is not allowed to say anything until the other person has stopped. And then it kind of just is like bat and ball. It can go back and forward until it's actually sorted out.
I love that idea, and I've done something similar with my partner, where we didn't face each other, but we spoke to the TV screen, which I obviously switched
that's a good
at
idea.
the time. But like you say, it sometimes makes it easier when you're not facing each other, because then you can't be influenced by somebody's, like you say, facial expressions or look of hurt, or look of, you know, wanting to jump in, or whatever they might be wanting to do. But, you know, setting those ground rules first, somebody going first and having their say without being interrupted, is brilliant.
Yeah, I do love that. And it can be anything as well, like communication, especially with intimacy. Sometimes you feel like, oh, I can't say this, or I don't like the way my partner touches me, but I can't say that now because he's touched me for so many years, and I can't undo that now. So it's like little subtle changes where, if you are in bed together and yes, you're being intimate with each other, and you can then guide their hands to wherever you want to be touched, and then say, this is how I like to be touched, because then you're both in the moment. It's not like you're, I don't know, cooking dinner or something like that, and say, I didn't like the way you did that last night, or I don't like the way you touched me. And then that can have a massive impact on not only like their self-esteem, but also, oh, am I not good enough now? And that can really affect couples. So it's just little subtle things that you can bring into the intimacy part of it, because communication is to do with the whole lot, like friendships, relationships with family members, intimate relationships, just relationships, brother, sister, or partner. Is so different, and different ways of communication can always come at different parts of your life as well. It doesn't just have to be related to your partner.
That's very true. And I found another good tip for me to share with my clients is to put anything that you want to change, you know, want progression in the middle of what I call the shit sandwich. So in other words, you start off with saying something nice about what your partner does for you, but then you sort of say, well, this is what I prefer, you know, this is the way I'd really like to change things up, or have things, this is what I want doing differently going forward, that would really make me very happy. And then overall at the end is the final piece of bread, which is the, you know, what something nice that you can say overall about your partner. So the actual shit bit is in the middle.
I love that. That's such a great idea. I love that.
Because then they're more open to receive. You know, if you start off with, oh, well, you know, this is what I want you to change, or this is how we can make things work better, they might not receive it quite so well, because they're automatically on the defensive. And if you start off with something nice and then weave the shit in the middle of the sandwich in a way that's presented, you know, as nice as you can put it, you know, and usually that isn't about finger pointing, is it? You know, it's not about you always do this or you always do that and playing the blame game. It's more about what do I want? in this situation that's going to make me feel happy. And if you put it across like that, it's always better.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, that's great.
Okay, so talking more about intimacy then, like you say, that can be a tricky one for a lot of people because, like you say, I'm sure it's common throughout the world, not just with the Brits, but sex is sometimes an even bigger subject that people have a hard time talking about. And I think you're right, talking about it in the moment, in the bedroom, and actually guiding your partner to what they want is a great tip as well. Any other tips around how to express what you want in terms of when it comes to intimacy?
Yeah, especially with some of my clients who haven't had intimacy for like 3-6 months, even a year. They're really then stuck because it's really difficult to kind of get back into that, and you've just lost that. You've become more best friends than you have lovers, really, or husband and wife. So even I normally would say, like, send a flirty text message to your partner, because you haven't done anything even for like a few weeks. Even if you haven't done anything for a few weeks, or it's just become awkward, send that text, because really kind of get into the moment of, I really would love to do this to you and I don't know how to say it. So and this can be like one thing that you just think, oh my word, what are they going to say? How are they going to say it? Especially even if, well, I'm in my bedroom at the moment, my husband's downstairs in the office. So even if you're working from home, like most of us still are, you can just still do that and just be flirty with each other. And I always say, like, bring the fun back into the relationship. Remember when you were first together, you wouldn't have got together if you weren't fun with each other. And it's just got a bit too serious, it got a bit boring, and you just can't feel like having fun. You can't be yourself anymore because you've had this barrier up, whatever it is. And you just have not been intimate. You might have, I don't know, you might have had a baby recently and you've got like a bit of a mummy tummy. I certainly did. I've gone back to normal now. Like, my kids are 9 and 6, but it's like your body changes and you just feel a little bit left out. You don't feel like yourself. You just feel a bit meh, especially this time of year as well. It can really get your self-confidence really, really low. And by coming back to yourself, so really healing yourself first by doing breath work, like movement, journaling, EFT tapping, all of these kind of things will help you to get back into your body and for you to love yourself. Because if you don't love yourself, you can't then love another person. And then when you come into the intimate side of it, you really struggle because you don't feel confident in your body. So having somebody else look at your body who you haven't really been intimate with for a while, it's really going to hit you. So by coming back and healing yourself first, getting rid of all these negative thoughts. Another one is mirror work, and I have my mirror right here actually, but writing affirmations on your mirror saying I am. So I am loved, I am strong, I am whatever it is. You can look in the mirror when you're doing your hair, your makeup, or just getting ready in the morning, reading those messages, and then that really affirms how you start your day. So I am sexy, I am powerful, I am a goddess in the bedroom. I don't know, I'm just throwing stuff at it.
Yeah.
But it will always then reaffirm your mind, and then you start to be more confident in yourself, especially if you've been a little mouse for a few years or months, whatever it is. You then start to have better confidence in yourself, and then your partner then notices, especially when you're in your ovulation phase. Now, if you are still, if you're still in like your baby making years, if you're not, if like you're perimenopausal like I am, I'm 41, I'm kind of getting to perimenopausal, your cycle will be all over the place. So if you don't really have a cycle, or your cycle is all over the place, then you can sync your cycle to the moon, or you can sync your body to the moon. So that's a whole nother subject, but the moon has 4 stages. We have 4 stages in our cycle, and there's a stage that is your ovulation phase. That is when you're most magnetic, and you probably know this with your energetic stuff. This is when you're most magnetic to everybody around you, and you will be giving off these sexual vibes. You'll be giving off these confident vibes that you just think, oh look, someone's looking at me today, I'm liking that, that's really nice. Or my husband actually does want sex with me today, that's really nice. So you only get about 4 or 5 days, not even that actually, within your month that you are energetically poised to have obviously the ovulation, because you're your body is saying, I want a baby. So yeah, energetic wise, you are in that space, and it is so good to kind of be in that space. So healing yourself first before you can then have more of an intimate relationship. That's where the main thing that I would be.
Yeah, I think I just wanted to pick up on as well. There's probably women listening who think, well, I do love another person, but don't necessarily look in the mirror and think that I love myself. But I think that in that instance, you're probably not having the healthiest relationship that you could possibly have, because once we do really focus on loving ourselves, then we do start moving towards having a lot healthier relationships with others, don't we?
Yes, yeah, definitely. Yeah, it really is. It's just navigating that, and at the time as well. But then also and if you are in bed, both of you are going to be nervous because you haven't done anything. You haven't been intimate for a few months. So just being naked with each other. Just going back to the basics, go back to the start, being naked with each other, maybe just stroking each other, giving each other a massage or like a head massage, just connecting back, because you've lost that intimate connection. And it's just little steps slowly. And then if you wanted to go the full way, go the full way. But it's just building up that time. And I was working with a guy a couple of weeks ago, and he'd said that his wife is going through menopause and that they haven't had sex for about a year. And I was giving him all of these tips. And then I think Saturday or Sunday, he messaged and said, oh, we just had the best evening. It was really, really lovely. We felt connected. And I thought, wow, that's amazing. And it was like the first step. And I thought, that's so good. He was like, we didn't actually have sex, but we felt more connected than we ever have been. I thought, wow, that is amazing. That's such a lovely feedback, because he was worried about what she would think. And then you're getting it in your mind. You're like, no, I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't do this. But you're actually building a bad picture up, when actually real life, it might not happen that way. It might be so different.
Absolutely. I think sometimes we do get too much in our heads, don't we? And misunderstand or make assumptions about what our partner's thinking and feeling, when they could be just thinking and feeling exactly the same as you and want that intimacy, but are not, are waiting for the other partner to make the first move, sort of thing.
Yes. Yeah.
In that direction. I've been quite lucky, actually, because I'm 63 now. I went through my menopause early 50s, and I didn't really suffer any adverse symptoms, to be honest with you. And sex has always been great. So
that's good. You're on the right track. That's good.
Yeah, I can honestly say, my relationship at the time, didn't suffer for going through the menopause. And I think a lot of it is to do with your energy and your attitude towards it as well. Can have a big impact.
Yes, yeah, definitely. Yeah, energetic wise, especially if you're negative about things, you're going to attract negative things. Whereas if you start off on a positive, you're going to attract the positive.
Absolutely, 100% agree with that. So the other area that we've not really touched on is the trust area, Gemma. So how can we, I suppose, have conversations or generate more trust in a relationship, especially, if that trust maybe has been breached in the past?
Yes, and that comes back to trust or hurt or trauma in your past, which could come from childhood trauma, or it could be in the form of, like with me, a miscarriage. It can be anything like that, because I know when I had the miscarriage, for 6-8 months, I didn't really want sex, because it would just be like, oh, I don't want to feel pregnant again. I did want to be pregnant, but I didn't want that chance that I was still going through that hurt from the previous miscarriage, which I lost at 6 weeks, but we didn't know until 12 weeks when we had the 12-week scan that it actually died at 6 weeks. So it was called a missed miscarriage. So then you're thinking, you're putting that blame on yourself. And what did I do? Did I cause this? The same with like a what's the word? I forgot. Infidelity. Yeah, especially like that as well. Some of my clients have been through that, and it's because you are not in the right headspace with your relationship there and then, that the partner or you go elsewhere, because you're not getting that attention from your partner, you're getting that attention from someone else. So then to come back from that, whatever trauma it is, you have to heal from that trauma first before you then start to move through the trauma as a partnership, as a relationship. And especially if you are trying to build that trust again, especially if there has been an affair happened, it's then talking, being open, being honest, being vulnerable about how you both feel. And if it was your partner that had the affair, okay, come back to you. Don't blame yourself, but there is some blame to blame yourself, because there was something wrong in the relationship that you caused together. And I'm not saying, right, yeah, you've just caused that. There's no communication, there's no intimacy. So then the other person will then go off, or the other way around. You've had an affair and your partner feels like left out and things like that, and the other way. So it's trying to heal from inside out first before you can then heal the relationship. So by talking, by communicating, by just being really, really open and just saying, right, you hurt me, or I really need to get rid of this trauma because it's really painful right now. Or I don't know, you might have had some sexual trauma as a child or a teenager, or even like as an adult. Your thoughts and feelings will always come back to this trauma, especially when you're in kind of the same situation. Maybe you're in bed, you're naked, and you're just about to have sex, but you get all of these thoughts and feelings in your mind. You can't move through it. You're not enjoying sex. You're not enjoying the time you have with your partner. Yes, you can trust them, but also you're going back to the hurt that's been caused by somebody else. So by coming back to yourself, doing EFT tapping, doing breathwork, meditation, it all really, really helps. Talk therapy, it can really, really help your mind settle. And doing meditation is a really, really good way to get rid of all this. The same with crying, like cry out your thoughts. Don't shush all your thoughts out. Journal out your thoughts. Scream into a pillow or scream in the car if you're on your own. Doing all of these things energetically will get out all of this negative energy for you to then come back to be able to trust again, to be able to, feel the connection with your partner, but knowing and understanding that they are doing the healing work as well, and understanding that you are going through the healing. And that might take a few months, it might take weeks, it might even take a few years, but knowing that you're on the right path, and every step you take is a better one than if you step backwards. And sometimes you might, because you're not going to be perfect all the time. You're not going to have this vibrate at a higher vibration all the time. We're just human. We can still have all of these feelings. So it is just building the trust up by being open, vulnerable, and honest.
That's great advice. And also creating a safe space for each other. I think especially women who are prone to be very dramatic and volatile can sometimes stop their partner from wanting to confide in them, because they've not created that safe space, because previously when their partner has confided in them, they've reacted in such a way that it's taught them that, oh my God, I can't trust this woman to receive what I've got to tell her, to confide in her in a safe space, because she's just going to react like this. And then men quite often will then minimize whatever they've done if they've made a mistake, or trivialize it or deny it, because they want to not be on the end of any drama or conflict.
Definitely, that's a big one. It really is, just because you need to feel that you can talk to your partner about anything. But also, when you've had this trust issue, whatever it might be, they might then, even if it's like some family issue and that you and your partner haven't been through it, or there's going to be issues within the relationship itself, it's just allowing each other to say how they feel, rather than no, you're wrong. It's being able to just say how you feel in a safe space, instead of just not, and feeling like you can't say it because in fear of that your partner's going to shout or do something. But then also it might trigger them as well. So something that you've come home and said, or like a friend has upset you and you can't trust your friend anymore, your partner is then going to be on the other end of like, well, this isn't right, we need to sort this out, blah blah blah. And then that can cause friction between the two of you rather than the actual friend. So yeah, that's a whole nother thing as well.
Yeah. I mean, it could be just sort of something like, if say he's had an accident in the car or something like that, and previously, when that's happened, you've really gone off on one.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not the sort of thing that I'd go off on one, but I've seen those scenarios within my family dynamics and also within my clients as well, where that's been an issue. And then obviously the guy's not wanted to then ever confide, if he's made a mistake or had an accident or tried to trivialize it or minimize it in any future conversation, because he's not felt safe.
Yes.
To trust his woman not to overreact and dramatize it and get really upset. So it's always important to, create a safe space for each other, isn't it? To be able to be vulnerable.
Yes. Yeah, it definitely is. Being vulnerable is hard. It really is hard, but it's the best way to deal with things.
Absolutely. So what, Gemma, would be the best form of communication or contact for any listeners that would like to get in touch with you, having now been introduced to this topic around communication, trust and intimacy, and wanting to find out more?
Yeah, my website is www.gemmanice.com. I was going to say my email address, no, gemmanice.com. You can find me there. You can always send me an email as well. All my socials are on there. I'm mainly on LinkedIn and Instagram as well.
Great. Thank you very much for that. And it's been a very insightful conversation, lots and lots of tips. And just any final words of wisdom around this topic of communication, trust and intimacy before we wrap things up?
Yeah, be open, honest, have fun in your relationship, and just say how you feel all the time.
Absolutely. And I think that's the key thing, saying how we feel rather than finger pointing is such a great tip in itself, and it's usually really well received by guys. If you say how you feel rather than say you always do this, say how you feel instead, it works out a whole lot better. So thank you so much for that, Gemma. It's been a great conversation.
It's been really good. Thank you very much for having me on. I've enjoyed it.
So it just leaves me to say that true love starts with opening our hearts, and until next time, goodbye for now.
Thanks for listening to the Hearts Entwined podcast. You can follow Lyn via the Facebook group 2 Hearts Entwined, or search Lyn Smith, inspirational speaker, at LinkedIn, or email lyn@hearts-entwined.com. That's LYN@hearts-entwined.com. Remember, true love starts with opening our hearts.